Let me tell you a little story about a guy named Bucky. He was born back in 1954, and when he was just a little boy, his dad, Elton, started giving him tools. And I'm not talking about those plastic toy versions. Nope, we're talking real hammers, saws, and screwdrivers. Now that might sound pretty wild to us today, but it was the beginning of a childhood that, in some really surprising ways, looks a whole lot like how kids are being raised in a completely different country, right now.
So picture this. It's the 1950s and 60s in America. Bucky's having what you might call a free-range childhood. It was just a different time, a time when kids were trusted with a lot more responsibility. And what's so fascinating is that his childhood has these incredible parallels with how kids are raised in Denmark today.
And the whole point of giving him a real hammer wasn't about being reckless. It was actually about something way deeper. It was about trust. It was about teaching him practical skills and, maybe most importantly, showing that you have confidence in a kid's ability to learn and be responsible.
Which brings us all the way to modern-day Denmark. It feels like a world away, right? But some of their most common parenting ideas would have fit right in Bucky's backyard. And, I gotta say, some of them are probably gonna surprise you.
Okay, so let's start with a practice that might seem really strange to a lot of us, especially here in the States. It's a tradition that's been around forever in Denmark, and it says so much about their culture and their whole approach to trust.
I mean, just think about that for a second. You're inside, enjoying a nice cup of coffee, and your baby is outside, sleeping in their stroller on the sidewalk. Does that sound like something you would ever do? Well, believe it or not, if you take a walk through Copenhagen, you'll see this all the time. It's totally normal for parents in Denmark to leave their babies outside to nap in their strollers, even when it's freezing cold.
So you're probably asking, why? Why would they do that? Well, there's this really strong cultural belief that all that fresh air is amazing for a baby's health. They think it helps them sleep better and for longer. It's all part of this Nordic idea called friluftsliv, which basically means open-air life. It's this whole philosophy of just embracing the outdoors, no matter what the weather is doing.
And hey, there's a really practical side to it too. As one Danish parent put it, if your baby falls asleep while you're out for a walk, it just makes sense to let them keep sleeping in the fresh air instead of waking them up by bringing them inside. Simple as that.
Now, before you get the wrong idea, these babies are not just abandoned on the sidewalk. Parents are usually sitting right by a window where they can see them the whole time, and a lot of them even pop a high-tech baby monitor right in the stroller. Still, it's probably safe to say this is one Danish custom you won't see catching on in the US anytime soon.
All right, so we've gone from fresh air to, well, fire and saws. This next part really builds on that idea of trust and brings us right back to Bucky's story. It's all about letting kids take some calculated risks.
So get this, in Danish forest schools, and even in some public playgrounds, kids are taught how to use real tools. I'm talking knives to whittle sticks, axes to chop wood, and yep, even saws. Of course, adults are always right there, teaching and supervising. But the main idea is to let children learn by actually doing things.
And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? In Denmark, a bump or a bruise isn't seen as some kind of parenting failure. It's just a normal part of life. It's how you learn about the world and figure out your own limits. It's all about building resilience, one scraped knee at a time.
The whole reason they encourage this risky play is to help kids grow up to be strong and capable. It nurtures their sense of adventure, makes them more self-reliant, and teaches them real-world skills in a way they'll never forget.
But Danish childhood isn't just about being tough and independent. There's a huge focus on emotional and social skills. They believe those are just as important for living a happy life.
Okay, this is pretty amazing. Since 1993, every school in Denmark has had a mandatory weekly class called Klassens Tid, which means the classes hour. And during this hour, students just talk. They talk about any problems they're having, big or small, and the whole class works together to listen and try to find a solution. It's basically a scheduled class in empathy. How cool is that?
And you can really see this focus on the group and their whole approach to school. Look at this chart. In the US or UK, there's often a big push for early academics and individual awards. But in Denmark, they prioritize free play, teamwork, and helping each other out. The goal isn't to be better than everyone else. It's to be better than you were yesterday.
This all ties into another famous Danish word you've probably heard, hygge. It's that feeling of being cozy and content, just enjoying the simple, good things in life with people you care about. It's all about togetherness, and it's a huge reason why Denmark is consistently ranked one of the happiest countries on Earth.
Okay, so let's bring this all back to where we started, with Bucky and that old saw.
So, fast forward to today. Bucky is an adult, and he's reading about these parenting styles in Denmark, and at first, he was totally horrified. He just couldn't believe that parents would let their kids play with real saws.
But then, something clicked. He remembered his own childhood. He remembered his dad, Elton, handing him that very same tool. He remembered being trusted to use it carefully to build things for himself. And all of a sudden, this crazy Danish idea didn't seem so crazy anymore.
And that just leaves us with this one big, fascinating question. How much was an American childhood in the 50s and 60s actually like childhood in Denmark today? It kind of seems like in some ways we've come full circle from a culture of trust and independence to one that's much more about safety and supervision. Although I seriously doubt American parents were ever leaving their babies outside a coffee shop.
And of course, we've got to be super clear about this. We are not suggesting that you go let your kids play unsupervised with fire or saws. The key part of the Danish model is that this risky play is always taught and supervised by adults. It's about empowering kids by teaching them, not through neglect.
So, I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. Whether it's bringing more empathy lessons into our schools, creating more chances for supervised risky play, or maybe just making more time for those cozy yuga moments, what part of Danish life do you think your town should adopt?